Yo! Higas in here, and today we are doing our second review in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Today we are looking at the Incredible Hulk. There he is. That's the guy right there. The Incredible Hulk, I think, often considered one of the forgotten films of the MCU. To be honest, when I speak to a lot of people don't even realise that it's part of the MCU. And a huge part of that is probably because of the fact that this film stars Edward Norton. And of course, today we all know the Hulk as Mark Ruffalo, from the Avengers to the present. So Edward Norton only got one film, and as such, this one really feels like a standalone film, all on its own outside of the MCU. But despite this, is it a good film? Let's find out. No, it's not a good film. But the opening scene, like the opening maybe 15 to 20 minutes, set in Brazil. There's no origin story for the Hulk. The Hulk is the Hulk at the beginning. Get a little bit during the credits, but then it goes straight into it. Bruce Banner already has the Hulk powers, and he's in Brazil. He's on the run. He's hiding. He's messaging this guy, trying to get like a cure for sending blood samples and information about the tests and stuff that he did. And that's really good. It's really interesting. I really liked it. The setting was amazing. You know, there's some big like wide shots of the city that he's hiding in and everything. And some like when there's a chase later on where he's running across the rooftops. It all looks really good. And that's a great part of the film. There's this little counter on it that tells you how many days it's been without incident. You know, in the first 10 minutes, he's already turning into the Hulk. And then it slows down. But let's keep talking about this beginning scene at the moment and why I think it's quite good, because it's interesting. You know, it's interesting to see him on the run. It's interesting to see him already learning to deal with the Hulk. You know, he's with this guy and he's doing like breathing exercises to try and make sure he's calmed down and stuff. Later on, someone's doing some drilling. I hope it's not coming up on this. Anyway, later on in the film, he's in a chase scene, people running away. You see him, he stops, he's breathing, he's doing that to try and calm himself down. That's interesting. At times, it looks like he's kind of like he's got the poo cramps. He's trying to hold it in, like, oh, I need to just hold it in. I'll get to the toilet in a second. But apart from that, you know that he's actually trying. He's been with this Hulk now for a while. I think it was at the beginning of the film was like last incident like 130 days or something like that. So you know he's been in this situation for a while. It's interesting to see him. He's like working in this bottle factory, and he's just like this really smart scientist, and he's just there working the conveyors. Every now and then he fixes stuff for them. He drops it cuts himself, and a bit of blood goes into one of the bottles, and he freaks out and stops it, and then the bottle kind of goes off with his blood in it, and that's how bad guys in this film, General Ross, finds out that he's in Brazil because brilliant Stanley cameo. He gets the glass that's had the bottle that's had the blood in it, drinks it, and collapses. We don't know what happened to him. I'm assuming that he's okay because he's all in the later films, and we know that he's one of the Watchers and is goes across all the dimensions and everything. But I'm assuming he got like a slight burst of the Hulk powers there. And also, really makes you think that this blood goes into the bottle and it carries on down to conveyor belts and stuff. It's not something that you really, really want to think about, especially when you're sitting watching this film, drinking a nice bottled beverage anyway. But so yeah, that beginning bit's good. The military come, they do the chase. Like I say, there's some great shots of him running through the city. Then 10 minutes in, bam, he's turning into the Hulk. There's a good scene. I mean, you get to see him quite well. They keep hiding him like in the shadows and stuff at the beginning, and it's like, why? We've seen him on all of the posters. We know what he looks like. The whole marketing campaign was, big Hulk posters. I think I remember like the premiere, there was like a giant Hulk statue and stuff. So we know what he looks like. But at this point, no need to hide it. There's this cool shot where they shoot dart guns at his back, and they all just fall off on the floor. And then we're introduced to the main super soldier, or he's not a super soldier then, but a main soldier then, who later on becomes a super soldier to fight the Hulk. Now you think when they're going to call in, we're going to call in a soldier, this elite soldier to fight the Hulk. Hulk big guy, you think like The Rock, Vin Diesel, someone like that. You get like the smallest, scrawniest soldier out of all of them to fight him, which is just an odd choice. I guess they wanted to go for that kind of dynamic. And later on, of course, he becomes the Berserker from Gears of War. I mean, the Abomination. But we'll get to that later on. When you see the Hulk, actually, the CGI, it's not great for the time. I guess it's good. It's always, I don't really think it's fair when you review old films and you talk about, oh, the CGI is rubbish, it's not good anymore, because that's not really a fair comparison. You can't really change the CGI from the time. So for the time, it was all right. Some shots don't look great. Again, when we get to it later on in the film, it does get a little bit computer game cutscene. But for what we see, it's all right. So his first few scenes, I was really invested. It's just good to see him in the bottle factory and stuff, and a great little chase. This girl in the bottle factory that he was flirting with is definitely a highlight. Then after that, he goes on the run. He knows that the military's there. He needs to go see the guy who he was talking to, so he goes back to America. And for me, once he gets in America, this film really starts to go downhill. So he goes back to America. He runs into his old girlfriend, who was also his science partner. And even though they've been separated for quite a while and she's already with somebody else, they instantly just fall back in love. And there's no real chemistry, I don't feel, between them. You know, everything where they met and stuff was all kind of off screen. And, you know, I didn't really want the origin story, but for this, you kind of need it. You know, they're just instantly kind of together. And then the military track her down via her, I guess now ex boyfriend, because she's running off with Bruce Banner again. The military track her down that way, and then you get like it's not boring, but a not very exciting fight in the most boring field ever, where the Hulk is just going up against people, and obviously you know he's going to win. This soldier comes back. He's now got some super soldier powers, but you know, he's just faster, and the running effects are rubbish. It just looks like he's standing there like that on a like a invisible like a platform, not an invisible platform, on like a green screen. It doesn't really look like he's running. So that's it. When you notice it, it looks quite bad. And the Hulk just keep picking up bits of statues. That's like his thing for this film, that he picks up shields. Obviously, that's designed for the computer games, you know. So he's like little power up for the computer games. And I just lose interest here. I don't know what it is about it. Maybe it's the fact that I had an old DVD copy, legit DVD copy, and whenever it got to that scene where the guy's running like that, it would always freeze, and I could never watch the rest of the DVD. But it's just, especially when you compare it to other Marvel films, and even the beginning, the opening of the film, that fight scene was great. Then you get this other fight scene. It's just in a boring field, just soldiers getting thrown around. Then you start noticing like the terrible effects and stuff, and the characters aren't interesting. The main bad guy, he isn't even that interesting. His thing is just, I'm a soldier and I want to keep being a soldier, so I'm going to take the soldier serum so I can keep being a young soldier. And then he just gets hooked on it, and he kind of does the thing like Obadiah Stane in Iron Man, where he just, towards the end of the film, he just seems to just go batshit crazy and just decides to do his own thing. So after all of that, we then, you know, the film just seems to speed up from this point as well. Then next thing you know, you're in New York, and he's met up with the guy that he was talking to on the computer. Apparently, he's cured him of the Hulk thing, even though he hasn't, because straight after that, the super soldier becomes the Abomination, which, like I say, looks exactly like the Berserker from Gears of War. The most generic looking computer game monster you could imagine. You know, you have the Abomination in the comics, and then you have this, and it's either a berserker or a giant turd monster. It looks terrible in the CGI, but I can't really fault it for that, because of the time. But maybe even at the time, it wasn't that good. I'm not sure. You look at Jurassic Park and stuff, and Lord of the Rings, and you look at this, and it's just not good. They even fight in this burnt out ruined church, and it just makes it look even more like Gears of War. The fight is all right, it's good to see Hulk fight another person on screen or another monster on screen. Compared to just fighting the military, we always know he's going to win fighting the military. So it's actually good to see him fighting another monster here. But it's just not interesting. His girlfriend ends up on a helicopter with an explosion, and he claps the fire away. And apparently that saves her without any burns or anything. Pretty sure he claps the fire towards her, but whatever. And would that not oxygen make it bigger? I don't know, but she's should definitely be dead regardless. Yeah, and he loses his Hulk powers, or you think he does, and he gets them back in literally the next scene. It's quite a funny scene. He falls out of an airplane to go fight the Abomination, and his powers don't come in, and then he just busts out of the ground. That was an alright scene, but yeah, it's just by that point of the film, I was doing other things, looking on my phone and stuff. It was just so hard to gauge interest in it, and that is the problem. That is the problem with this film. I mean, there's already that disconnect, the fact that it's a completely different actor playing Bruce Banner, especially when you have Mark Ruffalo and you've been with him for so many films, and I just love his performances as Bruce Banner and as Hulk, and I love what he's doing with it and how the Hulk's character has progressed from here. And when you go back to this one, unlike Iron Man, it's not a first film that really helps draw you in. Maybe if it was Mark Ruffalo or the same actor all the way through, then it might be better going back to it. But when you go back to it and it's a completely different actor, it really throws you off. I mean, we had Rhodey in the last Iron Man. Obviously, he's now Don Cheadle, but it's still, he's just a side character. He didn't have too many scenes. This is like a lead actor of a film. It's completely different, not just in the face, but even in little ways that he's portrayed and stuff. And yeah, it just lowers the film for me. I didn't think the action was that good. I didn't think the other characters were that good. And you wouldn't even know it was an MCU film if it wasn't for the fact that you got General Ross in it, who's in the later films. By the way, General Ross was good in this film as well. And the fact that right at the end credits you had Tony Stark in the before credits scene where he opens up a door and he comes in with like light bathing behind him as if he just come out of Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Like, what was Happy Hogan outside the door with the headlights on full beam when Tony walked in there, just to have a glamorous entrance. So, yeah, it doesn't do it for me. I think Incredible Hulk, it is one to forget. It is white tier. Might not even, probably if it was loot, I probably wouldn't even pick it up. And I'm afraid that's just how I feel about the Incredible Hulk. At the time, though, I have to say, at the time, you had Iron Man and you had the Incredible Hulk. It was alright up until we got to the Avengers and we saw Mark Ruffalo. The Incredible Hulk, I quite enjoyed it at that first batch of Phase 1. But going back to it, it's definitely lost a lot of its touch and a lot of its overall impact on the MCU. As a standalone Hulk film, it'll be all right. I mean, compared to the other ones and the one that we had before it's a vast improvement. But when you compare it to the rest of the MCU library, it just doesn't stack up. So that's what I think about the Incredible Hulk. Also, I just checked my notes. I just want to mention 3 things that I picked up on in the film that I always, every time I see it, I'm like, that's a bit strange. First of all, it's when he's in the factory, he fixes the conveyor belt, and then when he becomes Hulk, he completely destroys that factory. So he's been fixing it all that time. He becomes Hulk and he completely destroys that factory. That makes me laugh. They also kill his dog as well. It's not cool. The military, that is. The second thing is film's so boring I've had to check my notes because I've already forgotten. Oh yeah. The second thing is that during that boring fight in that field, there's a helicopter crash. Helicopter crashes, there's a big explosion, and the second it explodes, it goes from a really nice, clear, sunny day to tipping it down with rain and it's pitch black. What the hell was in that helicopter? If it was One Piece, I'd say it was rain dance. Or dance powder, sorry. So that was weird. And then in the next scene, they go to this cave, and it's absolutely chucking it down with rain. And you get this. The scene's all right in the cave. It's a little bit awkward. Like I say, they don't have too much of a dynamic. Hulk's scared of lightning and stuff. And then it cuts to the next morning because he stays as the Hulk. Then in the morning he's Bruce Banner. But there's this weird thing where Betty's kind of big spooning Bruce Banner. So was she big spooning the Hulk before? Like, what happened there? That's just a weird way of framing it. I don't know. They're just a few more points that I picked up. All, I'm afraid, more towards the negative side of the film. Anyway, yeah, so that was Incredible Hulk. Next is the controversial Iron Man 2. Well, I say controversial. Is it controversial? Well, we'll find that in the next video. I've been Higasin. You let me know what you thought about the Incredible Hulk. Do you agree with what I say? Do you not agree with what I say? Was you even aware that it was part of the MCU? Are you one of them people? Let me know. Like and subscribe if you like this video. And yeah, I've been Higasin, and I'll see you next time. Bye!